Welcome to our weekly conversations on artificial intelligence with thought leaders in Africa. My name is Zenzele Ndlovu. I'm the head of research and market development at Machine Learning Africa. We attempt to provide insight into AI and other emerging technologies and their inevitable impact in transforming business and the broader society. Please check out our upcoming event, the AI Business Conference. You can register for free at aiconference.co.za.
Hello everyone, and welcome once again to one of our weekly video recordings where Zenzele and I speak to leaders in the field of artificial intelligence with a focus on people doing amazing work in the local market and beyond. And Zenzele, I'm going to ask you to introduce our guest for today, please.
Thank you so much, Johan. Today we have Brett StClair, the CEO and co-founder of Teraflow.ai. He's an ex-Barclays Africa digital executive, a former Google Cloud African regional executive. He's an international keynote speaker and a podcaster. Brett, welcome to our conversations with AI leaders in Africa.
Zenzele, Johan, thank you very much for having me on the show. I have to admit, there's video and cameras. I'm not used to this. I want my headset and a podcast in my comfort zone. People now can see that I'm actually, might be a beautiful radio voice, but definitely a radio face and body. Just kidding.
We're not making any comments about that. Brett, but listen, it really is a great honor. I've been following your work, especially on social media, for some time. The first question I'd like to ask you is, given that we are, from all accounts and all views, quite far behind where the world is going in the fourth industrial revolution, and there's a lot of talk, there's the presidential commission, all kinds of stuff happening. I mean, you working in the field, you're based in the country. How are we doing, and what do we need to do to really jump ahead of the curve, if you would?
We are rubbish, to sum it up. Like, I'd love to say, like, I'm the most enthusiastic South African about technology in my whole life. I've just been, yes, we're going to go all over the world and we're going to change it. And we've got amazing entrepreneurs and brilliant minds. And I just go, why are we so rubbish? And I'm going to actually quantify what I mean by rubbish. The last 6 months have been an absolute eye-opener for me on how far behind we are in the rest of the world. So I guess as South Africans, we like to grade ourselves internationally with America. So that's not even doable. With United Kingdom or Europe, no, don't even try that. So let's go South America. I think that's a really nice place to kind of, we're part of the BRICS. We must be on the same kind of level as, let's say, Brazil, or, maybe let's really lower the bar, Brits. Let's start with Mexico. Surely Mexico, those guys have as many hijacks as we do. Surely we are competing on the same front there. And the last 6 months, I've spent my time growing our business internationally into businesses. We have businesses like Kavak and PetLove. PetLove's Brazilian, actually. It's not what you actually think it is. It is a pet store. But why I say I'm going to use those two as great benchmarks of the world of technology, the world of, in particular, machine learning, is PetLove is valued at about $850 million. Kavak at around about $1.4 billion. Kavak is the equivalent of We Buy Cars. And when we work with them, their maturity is beyond the level in the world of machine learning and setting up the machine learning ops environment and getting their data engineered correctly and platforms and model deployments. I don't think we can help them much. We're really working on the finer details of trying to squeeze accuracy out of the models by getting the data preparation right. And it is mind-blowing to see that, a startup in Mexico, and there's a very healthy startup ecosystem in Mexico that is taking the world by storm using AI, machine learning, getting their data right, and using IoT-styled control systems to better understand their customer bases and all that kind of stuff. Name the equivalent in Africa that's valued at that amount, that's doing that incredible work. And I really used to grade us there about 6 to 7, maybe 8 years ago. We rarely competed in that space. We definitely don't lack passion. We definitely don't lack skill. But I think where we're lacking is addressable market. And I think where we're lacking is our ability to understand how to scale organizations and startups to the level that is Silicon Valley, which is what Brazil and Mexico and Europe have all now figured out. So I feel we've been caught asleep. We have the talent. We have the ability. Do we necessarily have the addressable market? Not sure. But I'm also very much of the fan of having worked a long time in the Israeli market in my Google days, watching a market that doesn't have a very large base that you could monetize, going after the global market. And hence we are going after the global market. We have a very healthy ecosystem of customers locally in the enterprise space. But there's this massive opportunity globally that I think as South Africans and Africans, we tend to not understand. So I've answered half the question, right?
Awesome. Indeed. Actually, I was thinking while you're talking about the international markets and the benchmark companies and markets that you were highlighting there. And actually, there are so many of the South African startups that have ventured into the international markets. So many startups going to the USA, venturing to the European market. I remember recently you actually made an announcement about your growth initiatives in the UK and so on. And yes. I think probably there's something that we're lacking in the South African market, in the African market, that we surely need to learn from these, I would say, established or developed market economies. How important is it for us to implement artificial intelligence? Of course, digital transformation, absolutely. We need to digitize. We need to embrace, all these digital technologies. But AI in particular, is it really an imperative for the African market to grow?
I don't think so. Weren't expecting that answer either, right? And the reason why I'd say I don't think so is we have quite a bit of work to do around understanding how to digitalize our environments, how to digitalize our workspace. So if I was to answer that question, I'd break the market into 2 areas. Your existing business and enterprise, it's all manual. So like as much as there's a desire to go and adopt technologies, I mean, again, AI is a very broad, it's like saying software development, a very broad space. Their assets and their data are inaccessible at the moment. And when I say digitize, I'm really saying let's get this into a space where we can use it, where we, the cloud compute world, let's get it into big data warehouses that we can start to do something with that data. In the startup space, I think we're doing a lot of lessons around, or we're learning a lot of lessons around how to monetize your business through understanding the simplicity of a customer experience. And so the guys who are in that startup Silicon Valley world, their focus is simplicity. And how do you do that at scale? And I still think we've got a lot of learning to do there. And that learning is just building it.
Yeah.
If you don't have that experience built out and you don't understand what it takes to amplify the simplicity. How's that for a conundrum? But it's really scale. So AI for me solves scale.
Yeah.
And it solves it because it enables you to get a better understanding of your data and enables you to better understand how to take those processes that you've been unable to scale infinitely. And it's doing that because you're understanding the models where you're going to add value. And to get a model to work right, you've really got to look at the micro detail in the problem that you're solving. So I look at the AI agencies that do a phenomenal job, but the guys who really nail it get all the way down to the quality of iron ore. Okay, you'll know who I'm talking about there, right? They're understanding that detail, and it's so complex to distill and get a machine learning model to add value consistently and continually improve. You've really got to understand your business to that point. So I would say right now, have the ambition, understand what it takes to build a business that will capitalize on AI, and then be aware. And I don't think we're even aware of where artificial intelligence actually happens in our everyday lives. I mean, I'll ask guys in the industry, and they'll struggle to give me an example. And I could rattle off 15 examples just in Google Maps, where it's being used every single day. 20 examples in Netflix that is blatantly obvious, because when you're in the game, you need to notice where it is. And so I spend a lot of time in the enterprise space where they go, okay, so where do I use AI? Let's do chatbots. Cool. Do you realize how difficult that is? And the journey you need to take to be able to understand how you're going to interact, because first of all, you don't even understand the interaction with your customer. So let's start there, and what systems are going to be impacted, and where you need to get that data and that knowledge. So we end up with a shit ton, excuse my language, of dumb bots. And it's just doing a disfavor to the art of NLP, of getting that conversation right. So I am a very big critic on it, and I think we need to hold ourselves to a higher level. But in order to get there, it's the same as the world when we all went mobile or we all went digital. Let's learn from those lessons, ease it in, and then accelerate. Because what we've seen is a lot of money, and I've seen billions of rands being invested in a cloud-era architecture in a bank. Show me an example where they've recouped that return on investment. Zip, nada, right? That is doing a disjustice to our industry. It is phenomenal technology when harnessed correctly and you understand what problem you're going to solve. And let's just start with the simplification of a journey or a process. Then it gets really exciting. But I think we're doing it a disjustice. We've got too much money. We're just spending it like willy-nilly on interesting tech that's not adding value. But you see where I'm a bit of a pessimist, because I'm the world's biggest optimist. Let's understand where we're getting this wrong. Let's fix it as an industry, and let's go. But let's take 2 steps back. Let's not be naive about this.
So much wisdom there. I think you're more a realist, perhaps, Brett, because I see it in the enterprise clients that I'm dealing with. They're mandated, they've got some budget. They almost, I think more often than not, do it because everyone's doing it and they're scared their competitors are going to do it better. But almost always it's either an utter failure, or what you alluded to, the return is not there. So, which brings me to the question about the work you're doing and about Teraflow.ai. So the interactions you have with especially large kind of clients, is it, you've mentioned the 2 steps back. So is it that real guidance rather than jumping in, let's implement the stuff? So what's the kind of work that the Teraflow and that you are doing?
Yeah, I mean, I do hesitate to call our business an AI business massively. The only AI part of our business is that it's .ai. We have all the ambition in the world, but right now we're focusing, and I really, guys, to what I've learned out of being an entrepreneur in my many years of failed attempts is the secret to success is focus. And we try our best to focus on 2 problems. And the first one is the data engineering element. we've had this age-old problem in enterprise, and guys, I only focus on the enterprise space. In the global landscape, I work with startups, and because those startups are our enterprise, these billion-dollar businesses. But we fix the data problem. And that siloed data, and the reason why it's in a silo is because they've got limited compute, and because they've got limited compute, they're running batch jobs, and because they're running batch jobs makes it difficult to actually extract information that's consistently accurate. And when you've got multiple systems and then trying to pull it together, and the problem everyone's done is they've just gone and dumped everything into one space and gone, we'll worry about it when it's sitting in a loop. Yeah, you will worry about it. One big worry because there's no use case sitting behind that. So we spend our time deconstructing the use case and saying, okay, guys, focus on what that one use case is and the elements of data that you need to stitch together to put it into a real-time pipeline. You've got to get into that discipline of ingesting in real time. It solves so many problems when it comes to ETL. And then the second problem we solve is always around the machine learning, the ops, actually. We're spending a lot of time around the ops space, orchestrating those layers. And so the machine learning engineering component is readying that data. It's building out the feature stores. It's creating a best practice, clean environment of CI/CD that you would get in the world of code, because we're still dealing with code, and creating a playground for the data scientists to do phenomenal work and do it at scale and repeat it and continually refine it. Because what we're seeing is models are failing, not because of the lack of skill, because of the structure and access to data. And it's literally about 60-70% of the reasons why models are failing is because the data is poor. And so we just focus in those two areas. So yes, we have machine learning engineers that focus on solving those problems. So we're a services-based business. And yes, we're a bunch of data engineers trying to solve those problems. So you can see why I'm very hesitant, because I see amazing talent in the world of data science firing ahead on sample data. And they might strike it lucky. Most likely they're going back going, oh, help. And my chief growth officer in the UK hates it when I say this, because I go, we're the plumbers. We will do the shitty work. And he goes, no, can we not be electricians? That sounds far better. No one wants to do that work. So let's do that work, take our time, get it right. Then we'll build phenomenal models. We do bleed over into other areas. So you'll see, like, we've just moved the entire Commare operation into Google's cloud. Why do we do that? Focus, guys, focus. I just focus, because we know how to do it. And they're a wonderful client, and we love them, and we passionately behind their kind of key iconic brands, and we want to be part of that story. But again, if we focus our business, those are the two problems that we try to solve.
Thank you. That was, there's so much wisdom in what you're saying, and I'm glad that we can feature you and what you're saying on this channel, because I think there's often so much hype and excitement, and I'm sometimes a victim of that too. But
me too. Sorry, love it.
No, it's good, as long as it's balanced with a very sound reality check. And I definitely think it would be great to have you on here again in the foreseeable future. Thank you so much for your time, and all the very best with the amazing work that you are doing.
Thank you very much, guys. It's been an absolute privilege to be on your show, and I'd love to do more. You guys are rock stars. Keep up the great work.